Turns out I've been walking around with a screw loose. Yes. And I have an x-ray to prove it. I'll pass that around. The amazing thing is, I've been doing this for over half my life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and tell you how it all began. As most of you know, I grew up in the tiny country of Belize in Central America. And when I was 12 years old, my parents and my teeth decided that I needed braces. Now, finding an orthodontist in Belize is a little bit hard, but my dad came across one in he had a ranch outside the tiny village of Barrel Boom, and as they say in Belize, this guy lived back a bush, which means in the middle of nowhere. Dr. Faulkner was a fellow American, and he had taken a Greyhound bus and converted it into his orthodontic office. I didn't bring my notes. See, I really have a screw loose. So we went to Dr. Faulkner's, and he kind of reminded me of the nutty scientist on Back to the Future. He told me to get up into the chair and began to examine my mouth with his nicotine-stained fingers. I could smell the last cigarette on them. Yuck. So he was poking and pulling and jostling my jaw, and he finally postulated what he was going to do. First, he was going to pull 4 teeth. Obviously, they weren't that permanent. Then, he was going to do some surgery, wrapping a chain around my eye tooth, which happened to be up here, and each month when I would go visit him, he would shorten the chain a link until it moved into place. Then I would get braces. I traveled to that back-a-bush Greyhound bus for 4 years, and I endured lots of yanking and prodding and nicotine and lots of pain too. He seemed to come from the era of Archimedes with his braces. I mean, they were the full-on wide bands of metal, and that was what was moving my teeth. My teeth looked like they were wrapped in foil, and they felt like they were dropping out. After 4 years, I was a sophomore, and I came back up to Northern California to finish my high school years. With a new school came a new orthodontist. And the thing I liked best about Dr. Dawson was, luckily he didn't smoke. He had a modern approach to braces, and he cut off those metal cuffs and put tiny little squares on each tooth. And for the first time in 4 years, I felt like smiling. 6 years after my first pair of braces, I started college at UC Davis. With the new school came a new orthodontist, and that's when I met Dr. Chin. I thought it was so funny that I had an orthodontist with the name Chin. But he said my teeth were progressing nicely, and decided to take Dr. Dawson's set off and put on a set of his own. Well, after 2 more years of my teeth progressing nicely, my gums started to recede from the barrage of braces. And so Dr. Chin gave me an ultimatum. He said, Annette, you can wear neck gear for 24 hours a day for a year, and then you can have your braces off, or you can do surgery. We'll take your top jaw out and widen it, and then we'll bring your lower jaw forward. Well, I can tell you, being a junior in college, there was no way that I was going to wear neck gear for 24 hours a day. I opted for the surgery. Sometimes it's better not to know what you're getting into. As I lay on the operating table, counting back from 10, I happened to look over and see Dr. Bennett, my oral surgeon. I saw his tools. Hacksaws, hammers, drills. It was too late. 7.5 hours later, they wheeled me out of surgery. My face was swollen like a balloon. I had 2 black eyes and a bloody nose, and my jaws were wired shut. Oh boy, what did I get myself into? The next morning, a nurse was wheeling me in a chair down the hall, and all of a sudden, I got nauseous. And I told her, I started to panic. I told her, and she said, "Oh, that's nice, dear." I threw up through my blood-crusted nose. It was so painful. I mean, it was right up there with breaking my hand and losing my bikini bottoms in a water ski fall. It was really bad. But thankfully, they didn't have to cut my wires. I was able to breathe, and it never happened again. For 8 weeks, my jaw stayed wired shut. I lived on chocolate and sugar, a variety of soups and juices, and I lost 25 pounds. But after 8 weeks and 8 years, I finally got my braces off. Fast forward 28 years. My husband and I moved to Monterey, and we needed to find a new dentist. Dr. Haskin reminded me of Dr. Dawson in his modern approach to teeth, and he had state-of-the-art equipment, including a panoramic x-ray machine. And I needed to have an x-ray, and that's how I found out that I had a screw loose. I went home and told my husband, and guess what he said? I knew it. Thank you.